Vegetable gardening isn't nearly as hard as some people would make it out to be. In fact, I'd say it's actually pretty easy. There's really only three things that you need to worry about when you're vegetable gardening. That's sun, soil, and water. One thing that vegetable plants need is a lot of direct sunlight in order to thrive. You're going to want at least 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight where the sun is shining directly on the plants for them to do well. Now, if you'll see, my spot right here is up against a fence. I'm just barely getting the 6 to 8 hours because the sun goes right over here and then it goes down behind my house on the other side. But it's still enough. As you can see, my plants are doing pretty well. So if you're creative and you look around your yard, you can probably find a spot where you're going to get those 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight. Watering is another important aspect of vegetable gardening. You want to make sure not to overwater or underwater. Now, if you overwater your vegetable garden, your roots are going to get soggy and your vegetable plants can get all kinds of terrible fungal diseases. But if you underwater, then your plants are going to dry out and you'll see them start to wilt. So you want to get the fine balance between underwatering and overwatering. If it's been raining all week, you might not need to water at all, but if it's been 95 degrees because it's a hot summer, and it hasn't rained in 2 weeks, you might need to water as much as once or twice a day. Really, you just want to keep an eye on your plants and water correctly, and then you're going to do just fine. The third important aspect of your vegetable garden is your soil. Now, rich soil is going to mean a successful vegetable garden in most cases, but you don't need to worry too much about things like pH. A lot of people freak out. Well, is my soil too acidic? Is it too alkaline? You know, what's my pH level? I don't tend to think that that's something that you have to worry about too much, unless there's something drastically wrong with your soil, in which case that you would need to correct it. But most of the time, when you get in there, your soil is going to be just fine. More important is the consistency of your soil, whether you have clay soil or sandy soil or just right super fertile soil like we've got right here. Now, if your soil has too much clay, then it's hard for the water to soak it in, or it's hard for the water to soak into the soil, and you sometimes get pooling. It's hard for the roots to grow in there. If your soil's too sandy, on the other hand, then when you water it, the water just goes right through it, and it dries back out again, and your plants have a hard time. Either one of these conditions, there's a simple solution. You want to add a lot of finished compost. If you add finished compost to clay soil, it's going to make it more fertile. And if you add it to sandy soil, it's going to make it where it holds water better. So that's a good solution if you're worried about your soil quality. So if you take care of the three basics, sunlight, soil, and water, your garden's going to take good care of you. It's really not that difficult, so why don't you give it a try?